Hello, we're back. Another week has gone by. We're back out in the garage. I'm actually really happy to have gotten rid of the donor vehicle too and have all of this space. But in that period of time of, I think it was maybe like 3 months or so, tearing that guy apart, we've forgotten a lot of stuff. We started some stuff on this too and get things moving along, and then I quickly realized, hey, I'm gonna need some more room in the garage. Still finish off this 12er. We're gonna need some room in the garage, and it's just gonna be impossible with the other car in here. So, you know, we stripped it down really fast. Kind of made a few videos of that too. I don't know if you guys caught any of that, but I think this is really where the series is going to start here. But one of the first things that you know, I would suggest anybody does really, these are going to go back into the kind of tutorial kind of mode here. So yeah, one of the main things that I would suggest that anybody does before they get going again, if they're any way absent-minded like me or enjoy barley soda like I do, get yourself a little pad of paper, a little pen, whatever you got laying around. A lot of times it's even written on the windscreen of some cars that I've seen. But you're just kind of gonna go around and re-familiarize ourselves with this chassis here and what we've gotten ourselves into. Because there was a few things that as soon as I got in here kind of it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh my gosh, all right, so we got to start planning. You know, start planning right now. Because, you know, life happens, and there's a few things that happen with this chassis and whatnot like that too, and we got to plan around that, and we got to, you know, we got to figure something out. So, so we got to figure a few things out, and we're gonna run around just each corner of the car and take some quick notes on everything that needs to be touched and what our plans exactly are. A while back on my Instagram, I released a few drawings that I was able to use some MR2 bodies and drop down the translucentness of the image there too, and kind of sketch out on them what I was really thinking. A lot of them didn't include the rear end being the way it is, but I think with the going rate of things and the way that the classes and you know, global time attack and a few other things that we're going to be trying for, really want the car set up. I think we're going to leave the rear end alone with the exception of a few things too. But like I said, we're going to run around, make some notes on these guys, and so we have a little list to attack things with. And like I said, we get re-familiarized with the chassis and get to see where we're at. Plus it's a little bit late tonight too, and pretty much a lot of the places that I need to get started is with some louder tools. So we'll wait for a morning day or you know, the middle of the day and stuff too, so we're not disturbing all the neighbors, because you know, the garage isn't that soundproof really. Probably even at the door listening to me right now. No. You know, a lot of raccoons around here though. A lot of raccoons. I mentioned that last video. You should watch some other videos. Subscribe, something like that. I don't know what you guys like to do these days, but I'm having a good time. All right, let's see what we got. So yeah, pretty limited view, but I think you guys are actually going to get the point. Some of this stuff did see a little bit of moisture on some bare welds, but it really only saw a few drops of rain. So we were able to take down that side with just a little bit of a wire wheel, and it was pretty easy, really. But it took a lot of the surface rust just right off of it too. So We need to take a wire wheel to this side. We do still have a little bit of seam sealer to cover up before we finish off a few of these spot welds, but we're gonna get underneath this guy and actually paint it before we actually touch some of this stuff up here. And the main reason for that, before we start welding, like I said, is we just want to drop it down on the stock suspension before we start touching these really kind of tight to the frame rail spots here. Most of the other car was already done, so we're looking pretty good up here. The other thing that we're gonna put down on our little notepad here, besides getting the wire wheel out and touching some of this stuff up and doing a little bit of the seam sealer in here before we weld, is going to be getting some cardboard. Actually, too, cardboard can be immensely helpful, especially when you're trying to fabricate some sort of a new Venturi sort of setup and stuff. It's not the most exact science too, but it will do you a lot of favors when you're making templates for stuff up here. Just some stuff we're writing down. So the next side that we're gonna hit is gonna be the upper driver's side here. Not really a whole lot to think about, with the exception of where we really are gonna be placing a few things as far as the cockpit there, and its inclusion with wherever the dash and the steering wheel is going to sit too. But those are kind of all really kind of set parameters for you, unfortunately, especially if you use some of the stock things. But I already felt like this car had a pretty decent driver position too, so we're kind of just going with what Toyota set out for us there. But the roll cage seems to be in a decent spot on this side here. Moving on. So a lot of times, a lot of people don't know this too, but the way that a lot of parts companies work when they're going through and naming a lot of these parts, or giving them numeric codes too, they usually follow what they call groups, and they group the cars together kind of almost in like a little bit of a spiral pattern, almost like an inside out kind of way too. So we're actually doing a little bit of an opposite version of that too, where we're going outside in, and starting off at the front, almost like it was a front engine car, and then working our way to the back too, because that's just how my brain works. But anyways, we get over here, we have a good look at a few different things that are going on here. You notice that this rear bar here does block the view pretty well, especially if you're going to be racing competitively with other people on the road. But I think this was as tight as they could possibly get this because of the seam welding on the inside here, which we'll take a look at that later on. But once again, not too much to touch all along in here, with the exception of planning out a little bit of the roof area and some more of how the cockpit stuff is going to inlie with these things, because we're thinking about safety as kind of one of our number one concerns here. Yeah, just another kind of check, I guess, on the list really, and another thing that we can move on from. So all the way back over to the back quarter panel here, and we start to look at some decisions. And this is what I was saying too, is some decisions were already being took on this chassis when I got it. And those are things that a lot of you are gonna totally understand with me on. Sometimes when things have been modified, you just gotta work your way around said modification too. So these pie cuts here actually connect into an inner fender well here, which has been just barely separated through the pinch welds here, and those pinch welds there, when I was able to see underneath here too. Once again, this was done by a previous owner too. I think this was even previous to Nick, honestly. And was able to see underneath here too, there is an inner tubbed fender well, which would be nice to remove a little bit of this on the inside and have kind of a floating floating portion right about here where we can draw air in from the duct there and actually really hit everything and get it to escape right out the back too. These are just kind of harebrained garage ideas and everything like that too, but that's where we're going in this portion. And like I said, we're just reorientating ourselves with what some of our plans were initially, because it's been a few months since we worked on this chassis, really. The ass. Once again, not too bad here, just a few other decisions. As you notice too, most of the MR2s have a firewall right here too, which we do not. As well as some of the, like I said, the contour cuts that I was doing down here, pretty sharp. It's like a little mouth down there. Would require me to do a few other fabrication pieces back here, which really doesn't bother me at all too. These are really easy kind of places to fabricate into, and places that I think a lot of the modification ideas for MR2s have been tried out the ass back here too. But we do have the Racer X intake manifold, which is probably going to sit somewhere right about in here, with the charge pipes coming right over here. We were hoping to have a water bath over here, but once again, we're going to remove this floor too, so a lot of these things are just going to kind of be floating in there too, so we have to be careful about what we keep and what we don't keep. But I'm thinking this is probably where the fuel surge is going to go to, just to keep it out of the cabin. I think that we might be able to do an intake surge too. I'm still really debating a lot of options on fuel stuff right now too. It's just where I'm at right now. I haven't come up to a decision. So back on this other recorder here, we have not a whole lot to tackle on this side. So back again on this recorder here, not really a whole lot to tackle once again, just a few decisions to be made. We're still kind of cutting along this line. Actually, Nick was very nice enough to take me a line in here for what he was thinking the flat floor would be too, which I think he shot a pretty decent rough line too. So we just kind of cut right along that as well, and just cut out a little bit. Man, too many cigarettes. Cut out a little bit more of the rear here, and you know, just kind of not a whole lot to worry about along here, with the exception of where we're gonna place the fender flare. But this is stuff for a different day too. Not even going on the list of immediate stuff to tackle. All right, back in here again too. Kind of same issue on this side too, where we had a pretty good air gap in between the main pillar here too that Toyota provided, and the support beam here. But once again too, I think that they did a really damn good job of meeting up the structure of the roof here, and meeting up the inner structure of, I don't know what I'd even call this, to the pillar extension maybe, or the inner quarter structure too. But this is probably one of the most structured pieces of the car here. They really were, if I'm looking at this right, they were definitely concerned with side impact, and they were nice enough to even gusset this on the inside too, and even weld in plates here too as well. So that's about as good as they get too. We still got to think about some other things such as door bars and stuff, but we're gonna be doing obviously the same thing on this side too, where we're diverting air from going directly into the engine bay from these side scoops here. We're gonna have other cooling NACTA ducts running to the engine bay. Plus, a lot of the engine bay cooling is actually coming up from underneath the car too, which is where we're gonna be pulling a lot more air from. These areas right here are just mainly made to hold on, we're gonna get some beer. That stuff is good. These areas here are mainly just going to be used to pull the air back through the rear here, and try and evacuate it as efficiently as possible, really, too, and kind of keep it where it was almost a narrower vehicle, or wherever air is being inlet from. It's not accelerated, it's just let out right from that same area. All right, passenger side kind of sill area and upper roof area. Really, just kind of thinking about a few things. Really, there's a few blow through spots up here and a few other spots that are going to be just a little bit of a pain to weld the roof back on. Once again, too, I think it's only going to be a pain for me. I think a lot of you guys actually too would just bust right through this, but I don't know, a little bit scary to me, but nothing too extensive really. Upper pillar area too. I think a lot of you guys with the keen eye might have actually already even seen this. Really, this is one of the areas of concern that oh, hey now. This guy is pretty dang far right here. And I'm not even talking about, I'm talking protrusion wise from the actual intersect with where the windshield will meet is a pretty aggressive angle, and we might not clear. But instead of moving the bar, we might add a little bit more material right here. We might anchor to the outside of this pillar, which would definitely get us across here, really no problem. But I just don't know how that would meet with our lower sill here and the level of goofy modifications that we would need to go through that too. So we might end up doing some cutting of this guy here on this particular bar, but we'll see what happens, because these guys are all tied together too, and they're all part of the main hoop too. So they've had a lot of substructure and other things like that too, and the roof is already attached to this guy too. So once we get some more material to lay across this guy, I might be able to get a better idea. But via the measurement tools that I have already, we won't clear if we use this inner structure here where the windshield is usually mounted to. We won't be able to clear this bar here, which is kind of a bummer. But like I said too, this is what happens when you get other people's projects too. You really have to work around some of the other things that they were fighting too. But this gives you an opportunity to be extra special creative, you know, and figure out some stuff for yourself, really, because this is where it actually does get a little bit fun too, you know. Like, who knows what they'll let me get away with too. Maybe they'll let me cut like a little Dorito chip out of my plexiglass too, and let the bar protrude there too. And when anybody tells them what it is, I'll tell them sort of fill it up with gas. I don't know. like a little gopher down in here. But now we can get a little bit of a better peek at some other things in here. It's kind of this is where we gotta attack a lot of stuff, really. Or you can see a lot of the stuff that we need to attack on the rear end here. There was just a few other spots that we need to decide what we're doing with here. As well as this was one of the other places too that saw a little bit of moisture when we were moving the chassis one of the times. So we do need to get back in here with the wire wheel and clean up a lot more areas too. There's a lot more seam sealer in here too that was contaminating welds too, that kind of halted the project beforehand. So this is going to be a huge area of cleanup for us too. We're probably got about like five hours worth of cleanup just back here, really. But we're gonna go through and tackle all this stuff too, no problem. If we can get a little bit better of a view at, he still needs to be hit on all these portions of the strut tower here. But like I said too, we'd already cut so much of the structure, or so much of the structure had already been cut out too. I want to get this thing back on its stock suspension, and really kind of let it settle in before we get a few of these other spots. But I don't know, I might just be crazy as well too, and if it's gonna move, it's gonna move, honestly. I don't know, that's what I was thinking, really. You might just end up doing it too. Who knows? We're crazy in this garage here, really, and I've seen people do a lot crazier things. Neighbors are probably like, oh, this guy's fucking weird. But you can see some more spots that we need to clean up a wire wheel and just kind of get into a few nooks and crannies here that tiny guys like me, we really excel at this stuff too. So I don't suggest it for some of you bigger guys, but man, on these old Japanese cars, I just love getting in all these nooks and crannies here. Fun. So this is what it kind of looks like on the back side here. I always say excuse the shadow, but it's really just hard to tell there too. But you are looking at a complete hole here. This is gonna be, should I tell you guys this? I don't know. but this is gonna be filled in from right about here over. From the edge of this strut tower is gonna be one of our insane creations. But we're pretty much shooting this line right along in here with the frame rail, getting our height up that we want and making a nice wall back here that's gonna hold most of the intercooler and surge tank, however we choose to actually set that up. But it's gonna be pretty much the same thing on the other side too. So as you can see, we kind of shot for this wall right along in here. So we'll lengthen this guy out just a little bit to right there, and then shoot in right here all the way back to right, like, can't even see where it's going, but it's like right over here somewhere. So I'm gonna hit that one for sure. It's gonna be cool. You guys are gonna love it. Are we going too fast? I don't think that. I don't know. I'm getting pretty excited too. Like I said, we haven't had this much room to work on the car in a very long time, so I'm just kind of, I got the dreams about me. Yeah, I do indeed. A few other things to witness me in this here area that we want to get ourselves. Man, there's some fab to do in here. Some decisions to be made. This main bar here, which we may love or hate the positioning of this guy depending on where we want to put our steering column. From the measurements that I made, it was actually pretty fucking spot on for what we want to do. That's one of the reasons that I didn't want to move that bar right over there. The debate ensues, but we'll get there when we get there. But we can also see some of these good old sweet Fred Flintstone brakes right here. When you don't have any actual brakes, you can just put your foot out there and just run it on the tire there, and you'll get yourself slowed down. Get yourself slowed down in a long time. Might not have any skin or flesh left on your foot, but you would slow down. I don't know, actually. It might just fucking suck you right through there too. You look over your buddy like, what happened to my leg? Might actually be kind of entertaining. See it fly out of the car. Oh fuck, man! I knew I should have worn better shoes today. Those shoes sucked. So we gotta fill in a couple of these spots here too. I believe that this was done right here because it looks like it was seam welded around here too. This is kind of a little bit of auto archaeology for you guys here, but it looks like it was seam welded right along the seams here, and then cut out later, which was very extremely weird for somebody to do that. But I think what was going on here too is that we'd already hit some seam welds in the chassis by the time that we were doing the roll cage, and so to get a good enough angle to weld on the back side of this gusset that they put here for the roll cage. As you can see, most of the roll cage is actually seam welded into the chassis here, which, man, makes for a really fucking cool experience. Actually too, makes it for one of the stiffest things you've ever driven in your entire life, really. And I thank Nick every day for all the work that he did on this thing and selling it to me too. Now it's just up to us to really finish this guy off, really. And that's probably where we're gonna leave it for the night, but we got our list here, and we're gonna get tackling on some stuff on this guy. I really feel like this is the channel beginning again, and kind of I don't want to say it was gone, you know what I mean, too, because we never really were started, you know, too. We're just kind of like here, but I do feel like this is where we wanted to be initially to even get going on some of this stuff, really, and have some fun doing some YouTubes, because now this is gonna be all the fucking fun shit. It sucks tearing down these donor cars too, and doing all these washing of parts videos too, which I got a lot of fucking parts to wash too, but you know, I don't like doing them, so let's do some more fun stuff, you know what I mean, on this cool shit. But I dropped that pen a lot. It's actually kind of a cool pen. It's GM parts genuine parts. GP. Yeah, there's gonna be some cool shit too. Can't wait to get this thing racing too. That's the other big part about it. But we got a little bit to do. We really do. So that's why we make a list and we just tackle it one little bit at a time. All right, guys. I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend and a good night and a good week and Merry Christmas. And I don't know, a New Year, a Thanksgiving, a Kwanzaa, Easter? They still celebrate it? Yeah, nice Easter. That's in there too. It'll be the last video that I ever make till Easter next year. I'm actually lying. I don't know if you guys noticed too, but I didn't show you the underneath of the car too, but it was one thing. It was paint. You know, we're pretty much done underneath there. We put a lot of time and effort into that thing earlier before we thought we could get kicking on just building this thing. But like I said, life happens. We needed some room in the garage to work on this thing the way we wanted to. Plus, it's pretty nice having a place where I can work on my truck, you know. And work on the wife's car. We got some control arms and brakes all the way around. We're gonna do a brake flush, just do a CVT fluid swap, maybe an oil change too. We can run through all that stuff too, but we'll probably only show you guys the big hitters on that one too, and show you all the little secrets that there are for Subaru brakes out there, and for changing out these control arms, why we went with the full control arms versus just getting some bushings to press in, and how to install this crap really. It's a little bit more stock stuff too, so not as exciting as this, but I figured you guys still might want to see it. That was my PS for the evening. Peace.